okay, so this Venn diagram question says, in a college, 200 students are randomly selected, 144 like tea, 120 like coffee, and 80 like both tea and coffee. So the best thing to do is to do the Venn diagram first, then you answer the question. So let's go ahead and do the Venn diagram. Alright, so again, we're going to use the rectangle for our universal set. Then the best thing to do is to, when you're writing the information in the circles, the best thing to do is to put the intersection first. The number that should be in the intersection is the only piece of information here that we're sure about, is that 80 persons like both tea and coffee. Remember, these sections of the circles are for those persons who belong to this set. For example, would be, I'm going to call it capital T for tea, those who like tea. I'm going to call this capital C for coffee. So remember, this section is reserved for only those persons who like tea alone. That is why they're not in the intersection, because they only like tea alone. But from the question, it said 140 like tea. It did not say 140 like tea only. So we need to find those who like tea only. So what you need to do, you're going to minus 140, 140 minus 80, and that should give you 60 persons. And it makes sense, because when you add 60 and 80, you would get 140, meaning that the 140 that they're talking about here, since they did not use the word only, that means the 140 persons, some of them like both tea and coffee, while among the 140, some of them like tea only. So we found those who like tea only, so that's 60 persons. So we can go ahead and answer this question. Alright, it also says 120 persons like coffee. So what we need to do the same thing, which is to subtract those who like both kinds of tea or hot beverages. So we're going to say 120 minus 80, and that should give you 40. Alright, we can go ahead and answer this question. Another thing to look for in your question, it did not say anywhere in the question that all of the 200 students that were randomly selected, they either like tea or coffee or both. Meaning that the persons within these two sets, they're not the entire universal set. These three numbers wouldn't add up to 200. So that means there are persons who are in the universal set. Remember, the universal set is the general situation. So the universal set would be 200. However, we know that the 200 isn't everything in the two circles. So we need to find those who fall outside of these two sets. So what we're going to do, we're going to say 200 minus all of the numbers in this set. So that's minus 60 minus 40 minus 80. Alright, so all the numbers, after we fill out these three sections, we're going to find those who fall outside of the sets, because it did not say all of the 200 students like either of these hot beverages or both. So that means there are persons who fall outside of the coffee or tea category. So that should give you, that's 180. So I just added up. What you can do, you can subtract them individually, or you can add up these three numbers first, then subtract from 200. So I just said 60 plus 40, 100, plus 180, 180, so it's going to be 200 minus 180. And that's going to be 20 persons. Alright, so where do you put this number now? You're going to put it on the outside, since these persons neither like coffee nor tea. Alright, so whenever you see the word neither nor, that means those are the persons who are outside or don't belong to any of these categories in these two circles. So it says how many students like only one of tea or coffee. So whenever it says only one of tea or coffee, the word or implies that you're going to find the total for those who like tea only and those who like coffee only. That is why they use the word or. So we need to add up those in these two sections here. So it's going to be 60 plus 40, and that's 100. So the word or gives you a hint as to what to do, because it's saying that these persons belong to exclusively one group. All right, it says how many students like at least one of the beverages. So when it says at least one, remember this section represents those who like tea only. The intersection represents those who like tea and coffee. So these persons like 2 beverages. Well, same thing here. These represent this section represent those who like coffee only. So these 2 persons like only 1 beverage. These 2 persons like two beverages. But it said at least one, so it means 1 or more. So that means we need to add up everything in the circles here. So they like either 1 beverage or they like 2. So it says at least 1, that means 1 or more types of beverages. Plus 80, and we know that's 180. Alright, so that's how you answer these types of Venn diagram questions.